G'day punters, welcome back to another edition of All In. I think we're back for our fourth or fifth season. Could be our third, not quite sure, but let's get straight into it. Without further ado, Lewis Willoughby from Sky Racing. How are you, mate?
Yes, good, Gannon. Good, Dino. Back to earth we are. It feels like home to be back recording with you guys on a Monday morning, talking about fields that are only just released and speculating on who'll be winning the next Group 1 coming up this weekend. Spring is in the air. It kind of was on Saturday, but they're probably more at the trials than they are at the races. But then you start to look through the horses appearing this weekend and you go, okay, yep, we're back. And it's going to be a great one. Hopefully, I think the last few seasons for pretty hot on the tips. So hopefully we can keep that going here with week 1 of the spring.
What a segue, Louis. Speaking of hot on the tip, there is no man in better form than Dean Watling. He is dominated Gilgandra all into Rose Hill on Saturday. 2 Saturdays in a row. He's absolutely dominating proceedings. DeanWatling.com. How are you?
Morning, boys. Yes, it's good to be back. It's good to be tipping a couple of winners, but you got to introduce Louis from Sky Thoroughbred Central now. Congrats, Louis. Made the debut in the off season, so big props to you. Me and Gannon are still off the bit trying to find our way in the industry while you're just leading the way. And you know,
We'll get there.
Everyone's
we'll
right.
get there.
I'm still waiting for the 5% cut, Dean. Have you got yours yet?
Nah, we'll be waiting a while, I think, from Louis. But no, it's good to be back, boys. Like Louis mentioned, the trials been turning up of late. They've been the goods, but this weekend we see stacks of races we'll touch on. The Winx Stakes, first Group 1's back. We've got the Vane, the Gazette, I think the Toy Show County potentially, and we've got the PB Lawrence. So it's heating up and it's keen to dissect into.
Outstanding. Hopefully we can find a few winners. We will be gambling responsibly, naturally, lads. And we're going to kick off here. I've got a couple of topics for a round table as we kick off the spring. The future of racing will be the first topic. Now, why I bring this up, really simple. There's been a lot of talk. And Jake, he's fantastic, Jake. You guys catch Jake? He's got one of those websites that, I don't know what you call it. It's a Combat or something like that. It's fantastic. Initiative. But he put up a post on social media. It's just brilliant, and basically says that betting on horses has become the cigarette of the late 2000s. It was 2020 or something when they started putting out the toes with the gangrene. And he goes, essentially that's what it's like to be a punter in 2023, and it's a bit like you get the feeling that we are becoming more and more insular. So I'm want to get your opinions, lads, on where the great game is at as a whole and as a punter. I'll kick off. If you were to give a ranking 1, 2, 3, and 4, and maybe give it 5 in regards to punters, trainers, owners, administrators, and jockeys, you can argue the top 4, but for mine, punters are number 5. Agree or disagree?
Yeah, I'd agree.
Add your thoughts in, Dino.
Yeah, I'd agree. I think punters, it's probably just the natural cycle of it. I don't think a lot of participants in the game don't understand how much and where the dollar comes for in money. Obviously, the prize money boost is a lot to do with the mug punter or the recreational punter who's chiming to the betting accounts and all across the codes, and that money then gets filtered back through, and that's increasing prize money, which then helps trainers, helps jockeys, helps everyone. And without the punter, there's no prize money. There's no increase in that. The sales don't increase because the prize money races don't increase. So I think it flows on. It often gets forgotten, and you can see that. You look at the big announcement that come out from both everywhere across Australia. I can't remember the last time I saw a positive or a big announcement that was in regards to punters and helping them out. It seems like it's the opposite. It's another dint. Percentages go up, point of consumption tax go up, which then hurts the punter again. So it's an interesting point. I feel like racing's the best it's ever been, which is why we're touching on and talking about it. But at the same time, I think you've got to be talking about it because if you're standing still, you're going backwards, Louis. So it's a lot to talk about, probably too long to go on in here, Gunno. But I agree with you. I think punters have forgotten a little bit, Louis.
Louis, you've got a lot of young mates over there in the eastern suburbs. They've all got plenty of coin. You're all cashed up. What's the difference between them spending a Saturday afternoon at the pub or watching Randwick get flogged by northern suburbs versus going to the track on a Saturday? You're around that, those types in that area. Talk to me. What's stopping them from getting to the track on a regular basis or punting on horses on a regular basis?
Yeah, I think they're two definitely different arguments. Track attendances and punting Track attendances, I'll say that, probably you can't rely off what happened back in the day in terms of how midweek races or whatever used to be so popular. The fact is we have such a good product on TV and online that, you can have such an entertaining experience without having to go to track. In saying that, though, I think New South Wales especially has done a great job in being able to bring to those big days people to the track. I don't know if you guys have been to the Everest on track at Randwick. You can hardly move in the joint. It's swimming with people, whether it be entertainment in different parts of the track, just little things like that. And what I was going to say with the whole issue is that there's no correct answer for each little problem in racing. You can't just rob Peter to pay Paul. People say how great it is that, all this entertainment's on track and blah, blah, blah. But then there'll be someone else saying, yeah, but those people aren't there to watch the thoroughbred. They're not really engaging in betting. So there's all positives and negatives for all of this kind of stuff. And thankfully, there's people smarter than me and paid more that, issued with figuring these problems out. But it's a good conversation topic because I don't think there's 100% a right answer to any problem in it. In terms of the betting, you're right, Dino, that if you lose the punter, you lose so much of the product that is racing. You don't race for X $1 million if the people punting can no longer afford to punt. So, yeah, I think you're right in saying that there has to be continuous looking at these kind of issues. You can't just rest on your laurels and say, it's going pretty well for the moment. We'll just sit around for a second and see what happens later. You've always got to be trying to figure out what's going on. But as I said, you'll find one positive and someone will come up with two negatives. It's a tricky landscape to navigate.
It is. I think, gents, to summarize that at the core, without the punting dollar, you don't have prize money increases. Without prize money increases, you don't have increases in ownership. And without increases in ownership, you don't have increases in horse sales, et cetera, right? So at the very bottom, you need turnover. You need to increase turnover. And my gut feel is, as an industry as a whole, punters aren't educated enough to win. Punters are so just cut and paste mentality of, you got your $100, you spend your $100, and if you lose it, you lose it. Like, no education around, hey, if you've lost 22 of your $100, bank it for next week. You know what I mean? Yeah. You don't have to keep going until you lose your $100. It doesn't have to be as recreational and fun as it can be a grind. It can be, that can be part of the fun. And I just don't think we're educating the punters enough. The betting percentages are horrible because of things like bonus bets, yada, yada, yada. The quicker we can get rid of those, the better, because your punting dollar is going to last longer because percentages go down. That's the debate. We could talk about this for days and go on about it for days, but we've seen the issues. We've seen Racing Victoria come out and they're trying to create some initiatives to get some engagement. Let's talk about some scenarios, guys. I'll start with you, Louis. Some initiatives outside of what we've seen. We're not going to get jockeys getting instructors from coaches or trainers. It just won't happen. The first time a horse clips heels, that idea will be gone and everyone will be sued. Have you got an idea, an innovation for the game that's going to get younger people coming to the game and betting turnover to increase, Louis? Anything. Yeah,
well, I'll start with, if they give jockeys earpieces, I'll give the game away. Fair dinkum. That, as you're right, innovation.
Imagine Gannon in your ear.
Just go harder. Roll to the front. Yeah,
why is it not going faster? We're losing.
Every race will be run very fast, and they'll be running 12 above average.
I don't know how this would be possible, because a lot of the form tools are privately owned companies who aren't just going to they work hard to build that and get that information. They're not just going to give that away for free. But it harps back to what you were saying before, Gannon. I'd love to see the recreational punter enabled with better tools to help them find more winners. If you're going to play in markets that are quite high percentage-wise, then you kind of need all the help that you can get not to burn through your money so quickly. So yeah. I don't know what that looks like, how that works, because as I said, these good tools that are available to people, cost a lot of money to begin with, money which the recreational punter probably can't afford to spend on that. They'd rather use that elsewhere, cost of living, etc. So
Louis, just on that as well, and we all use different tools there. So I use GTX, which is Dan O'Sullivan, does a fantastic job with ratings. Dino is with ratings to win. I think you do punting form a bit, Louis, yourself as well. There are plenty of those tools out there. They are a great advantage. And I think the biggest leap I took in my punting was implementing those tools. So whilst it's a upfront cost, the long-term benefit is so significant.
Yeah, 100%. And even just simple tools like, probably more correct. Well, it's hard, no speed map is 100% correct, really, is it? Because it's just an opinion in the end of the day, at some degree. But even like just somewhat really strong speed maps to be able to give the punters, because sometimes you go on, whether you're looking at a speed map on a WSP, if you're betting or whatever, they're just like, realistically, they're so completely wrong. Something like that, something as small as that, like a really helpful in-depth speed map that can help punters there on a Saturday or a Wednesday or a Tuesday or whenever they're betting. I will say, in terms of on track, I think that we should keep the emphasis on the star of the show, which is the animal. I think sometimes they can get a little bit lost. It's all good and well having 5 DJs up in some stand and getting heaps of people there, but you've got to remember that the reason we should be there is to watch the thoroughbred go around and do what they do on a daily basis. So I know that Team Thoroughbred New South Wales do good stuff. They bring out the retired horses to the track. You can go and see them in the tie-up stalls. You can learn about thoroughbred racing, blah, blah. Stuff like that, I think, is really crucial and should be more to help, the image of the game. And I know people say, you shouldn't pander to people who, blah, blah, blah. But I think to a certain degree, you should have that kind of stuff there to educate people more on the animal that we're all watching. Because just like if there's no punting, there's no racing. If there's no horse, there's no racing. So there's a lot of different kind of avenues that come into it.
Dino, so we've got make the animal the star from Louis and more information, or better, high quality information for the punters. What have you got for us, mate?
Yeah, I'm passionate about this thing. I think that the biggest thing we need to do as an industry, I think the game that we have right now is brilliant. I think it's getting it on eyes and getting the insights out there to probably the participants that aren't involved in the game. And instead of them trying to change it to please them, I think we should involve them and create that insight into the inner sanctums. I think the perfect comparison to it is the F1 and is the NRL. So the F1, they haven't changed their sport at all. The sport's the sport, and all the new fans that have come on board with F1 haven't been dictated to, and they've changed the rules to suit them. All they've done is highlighted, which was the best point of their sport, is their participants, the drivers, the cars, the insights to the garages, the owners, the engineers, and highlighted them and understood what it is. If you asked me 2-3 years ago what F1 was and behind this, I just thought they were cars racing around a track. Now you know how much of a difference it is. So I think that the game we have, the participants, the horses, the trainers, the jockeys, elite, and I think we need to highlight them more. If we look at the NRL, that's purely why a lot of people stay home and don't go to the NRL games, is because the coverage we get on your Fox Sports, on your Channel 9's elite. You get a million different camera angles. You can chat to the coaches. You can chat to the players pre-game. I don't like any of this stuff in the game. I think State of Origin does it with the coaches at halftime. I hate that, or through the game. I think that's awful. But the stories around it, and I think the biggest thing for us growing up, Gannon, I didn't grow up in a horse racing family. So the first thing I saw about horse racing was Sky and them running around. Behind that, you don't see what the strapper does. You don't see what it does to put a saddle on a horse, how to lead them out. They go to the sand roller, how they train in the mornings. I think a series like that, highlighting what it is like, I think then more people will fall in love with it. And it was only until I went to Everest Day when Red Zero won his second Everest, was I got to see the mounting yard. I've never seen that before in my life, and I got to see the type stalls, and I fell in love with that side of it. I didn't really care about the betting side that day. I was just fascinated that this is how racing works. So I think highlighting the industry and using it as a strength, because the participants are strengths. If you give them the tools to advertise as such the game to everyone else, I think that's where we'll grow as an industry and bring more people in.
It's pretty simple for mine. I think you boys are all over it. I think they are the answers. Educate the punter, educate the non-punter, and educate the rest of the sporting nation. And I say sporting nation because we are a nation full of sports fans. But soccer is the best example of any sport. And to be fair, I can't stand the sport. I play it, but I can't stand it. And I never understood it. But they don't change rules. They haven't changed the game for 300 years. They introduced a VAR. That's about it. Rugby league, they've changed every rule under the sun, and people have fallen off, right? So then they have consistency in a game like soccer. We need consistency in a game like horse racing. I think you boys are on the money. I think if we can get an Adrian Bott and Gay Waterhouse and a Ma and Eustace and Mitch Beer down at Albury and send a few cameras in there for 6 weeks and do a series, it'll go right off in the lead up to the spring.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be 6 of the best guys from Victoria, guys or girls from Victoria. Just pick a few people, get it out, show how much love there is for the horse, the star, and then go from there. What do you reckon, lads?
Racing has the best characters in
yeah.
any sport I've ever met. You ever go to the pub and you're sitting around with guys who've been in racing for, 30, 40 years. Some of the stories this happened to me yesterday. I was sitting around at the pub and these 2 guys who'd been in racing for a very, very long time were telling these stories, and it is just the pinnacle of stuff you hear, how funny it is or how interesting it is. We need to showcase that. You have to showcase that.
Yeah. Imagine we had a camera on.
Right, I love it, boys.
Clayton
Douglas and his...
Yeah, imagine we had a camera on him leading up to the Everest last year.
Yeah.
Like him floating, it's the only good horse he has.
Yeah.
Like, imagine watching that up.
You have to showcase that.
Yeah,
it's good. It's good. And there's enough money in the game to do it. So let's hope that they can make it a priority. Less microphones, less whip chat, and less just more about making the game great again. Righto, lads. Let's go straight to the Winx Stakes, first Group 1 of the season. And, well, we are back in a big way. Louis, have you got a market for us at all? Anything up and about with the Green Cafe?
Yeah, stand by. Let me do a little quick refresh here. There wasn't when I was looking before. Nominations only came out, what would it be, about an hour ago. But we do have an all-in market for the all-in show, Gannon. You wouldn't read about it. Fangirl and Zaki, a $4.50 equal favourites, and these odds are correct as of 12:30 p.m. Monday. Lindemann at $8 with Moanga and Think It Over. Golden Mile, Hinged, Osipenko, and Princess Grace $15. Always remember to gamble responsibly, of course, if you are having a bet this Saturday on the Winx Stakes.
Let me kick it off. We'll go Randwick. I'll go first. Zaki this morning was announced on RSN. Annabelle Nation said that Jamie Carl will be riding Zaki, so I'm very keen to go there. Some of us were lucky enough to jump in around the $8 mark, but I still think around the $4.50 mark will be a sound bet come Saturday. I think Zaki's the best horse in the race. I think It Over comes off a 65-week break, and you could potentially have a couple of wins in it in the spring, but I don't think it's going to be first up here. And that's about it for me, Dino.
Yeah, interesting race. First Group 1 on the season, and a lot of horses, bar probably Golden Mile in the market, are first up. So a lot to play out. Trial Purrs would be up and about. Are the horses there to win or there to have a prep run? The other thing we have to note, fellas, overnight we had about 15 mils of rain here in Sydney. Louis, you probably have a better guide being there at Randwick. I think there's another 5 to 10 tomorrow. So it could potentially be on a soft 5, soft 6. I'd suggest with a firm underbelly, we should be on a good 4. Fangirl needs a good 4. So I think if you're betting on her, you're just going to wait. You get similar price come the weekend, I'm guessing, and you're probably going to get confirmed a good track. But I'm with you, Gannon. I think Zaki, confirmation this morning, 1 trial last week. Jamie Carr comes up for the ride. Elite first up stats, 10 starts, 4 wins, 3 seconds and a third. I think he's an out-and-out 1,400 and 1,600 metre horse. I think 2,000 metres is his ceiling. I don't think he gets past that, which we saw in the Brisbane winter. So I'm keen here, Louis, Zaki as well. Yeah,
it's pretty hard to make any opposing views to that. You're right, Zaki, free course first up, trialling well. I was floating Think It Over until Dino pre-show reminded me first up off, which is not it's not the worst thing in the world, but it maybe dents your confidence a little bit. You probably want to see it come back and run really well before you could back it, especially at the price that it is. If I had to float something else, I mean, Golden Mile, you can pretty much just forgive. You just have to look at it as if this is its first up run, to be fair. otherwise, I mean, I'm excited to see a
Price
few.
you're getting Golden Mile, Louis.
It was $15.
Yeah, I think 15. Which is
that's not a bad play. I'm just not sure if it's going there, but if we can get some sort of confirmation on that.
Yeah, I think it would.
I actually, when we did the weekend preview, I was against it first up, thinking 1,400 meters second up would be ideal. So you could be on the money there.
I'm excited to see a few horses back: Attrition, Communist, King Colorado, etc. That whether they're winning chances here, I don't know, but it's good to see how they will return. Yeah, look, basically 450 at this stage on Monday with rain overnight, some rain today, maybe rain tomorrow, and then pretty clear. You're just betting whether it's going to dry up or whether it's going to stay wet with which way you go on the 450 equal a pair. But I will say that the winners of this race, including when Winx won it 3 times in a row, back when it was a Group 2, they've all been first up. So even though I said Golden Mile, you take it as a first up run, maybe not. Animo, Moanga, and Very Elegant, the past 3 winners. They're very, very good horses. So you'd want to hope if you're betting a Golden Mile or an Attrition or a Communist or a King Colorado that they're going to step to that kind of level. Whereas Zaki, as we know, is already at that level. So I think that would perhaps be a safer bet. I don't have much more to add, even though I just rambled on for 20 minutes about it. I just
3 cherries,
just follow
3
you guys.
Zakis. We like it. Very good. Dino, anything in the Silver Shadow Stakes or the Show County for the punters?
No, not just yes. Like Louis mentioned, there was no all-in markets, which was a bit strange. I thought they might put them up. They might be up today after nominations go up, but nothing too early. Estrella's obviously nommed and got scratched out of the Rosebud. He will go around in the Silver Shadow. Charmstone's dual nominated in Sydney and down there in the Gazette as well. 1,200 metres in Sydney, 1,100 metres down there at Caulfield, but nothing as yet up in Sydney for the Silver Shadow Gunner.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see what price they put up Estrella. Obviously, that stable's a tough one because sometimes they can be there and then not be there next minute. So
it's 450 with Tab.
Oh, okay.
Equal favourite with Platinum Jubilee.
We need to get off this so I can get a bet on because I think Estrella will be winning that race. And 450 is good. And we are using my phone internet. And if I try get on, I'll probably end the show. Righto, so that's good. There's a tip for me in the Silver Shadow, Estrella. Dino, you happy with that 450 price?
I'll wait and see. No firm opinion just yet. I want to do the race a bit more, but I'd suggest that's probably the way to go.
Good stuff. And I've got one for the punters out there. If you've got anything in the Moyston Copper Show County quality, you might be able to bring it up, Louis, if there's any prices there. I think Colino is a great bet.
$11.
Shows Extremely Lucky 350, Buenos Noches 450, Argentia $8, Dragonstone, Colino, Lindemann, Osipenko, Princess Grace, you called it, Zugotcha, all 11. Cepheus, It's Our Time, Militarize, and Rocketing By $15. Gatto, we should just quickly do the course of action. Imagine what you could be buying instead. For free and confidential support, visit gamblinghelponline.org.au or call 1-800-858-858.
Thank you, Lou. Colino, it looks a really good bet around that $11 mark. I think the thing that probably need to note here is Extremely Lucky is a favourite, but there was mucus last week. I'm not sure what that means this week.
Good.
But I don't want to be taking $3.50 about that with absolutely no idea. So I think it would be a fair bet just to have a few bob each way, $11 and $3.50, because I think you're going to get a decent return on Colino. It's a horse with a bit of upside here. I know it goes up to Group 3, but I just think it's got potential throughout the spring. Dino?
Yeah, I don't mind that at all. I like what you mentioned there, Extremely Lucky. They messaged in on SEN this morning, one of the owners suggesting that that's why it come out on Saturday was mucus. So, I would be avoiding that all in unless we hear word probably closer to Saturday that it's actually running, because that's no good for the horse. If it was fresh and if it was no issue, I'd be absolutely I'd be on board with Extremely Lucky. That price, Randwick Rail True, that just suits that horse down the ground.
Right, let's head south. Let's go down to Melbourne, Caulfield. What do you got for us, Lou?
Nothing. No markets, unfortunately, unless
Beautiful. We got the Vein Stakes. So Cylinder comes back with Blake Shin aboard there. Dino, any thoughts on Cylinder coming back as a 3-year-old?
Yeah, there's a couple of Trev Noonan obviously put out a couple of likely fields there on Twitter last night. The Little Bros, the Blue Diamond winners, accepted to run up. So there as well. 1,100 meters, Caulfield, both for the Vane and the Gazette. The Vane's obviously for the boys. Godolphin have an outstanding record on this race. They've won the race with Bivouac, and the other ones crossed my mind. Trying to think of that horse. Exhilarates, maybe. Trying to think. There was two good Godolphin horses or colts that won that race. Cylinders trials in Sydney being superb, and I like the early booking of Shin. That just shows intent. We saw Pericles win first up the weekend. I'll harp on it about it, but they're the best stable ever first up. They're ready to win first up. So I'd suggest Cylinder's going to be more forward than Little Bros, who's probably going to potentially be a 14 to 1600 meter horse. I think Cylinder's out and out 1200 possibly. So I'd lean the way of him, Gano. I'm quite keen Cylinder there first up in the Winx Stakes.
Yeah, hopefully we get some sort of price there. Louis, any thoughts on Cylinder in the Vane?
No, but I am a sucker for Little Bros from last season. So
yes.
I have to.
Louis just melting over there listening to us.
I have to remain solid. Although I agree with Dino, I think better a bit later on into the prep. Who else?
There's a couple others in that race. I am unstoppable, Lou. You know, VC, who I saw at the jump outs, look to return.
Yeah, VC's an interesting one. Brody Nixon, who works at Sky, he's been on the show a few times. He has a big opinion of VC. Yep. And so it'll be interesting to see how it comes out. Big horse, big, good long stride on it.
Yeah, and I'd suggest off the jump outs, Lou, it's furnished. I think it was a little bit like had that good frame as a 2-year-old. Now you looked at its jump outs and you think, geez, that's a proper horse. So I agree. It was that one that has that good CV early, but probably just wasn't a 2-year-old.
Yeah, sure.
Super stuff. All right, boys. The Gazette Stakes for the fillies. Skirt the Law, Charmstone, Hell Queen, Sicilian, Tis Enough, Ullanova, Show Royal, and Princess Del Hollow. All courtesy. This is of Trav Noonan's great work he's doing there on Twitter. So that's some super stuff. I'll kick off. I think I'm really keen. I won't be betting here, but I'm really keen to see how Skirt the Law comes back.
Yep. Chris Nelson, who does a little bit of work with us, Scatto, he suggested it's tried up really well up there in Queensland. Charmstone's the one that interests me. I had a massive opinion of her. I think she was favourite for the Blue Diamond Prelude. I think choked down, ran poorly, but her recent jump out was phenomenal. And we had Michael Kent Jr. on weekend preview of Stale Bull Mail, on Thursday on SEN, and he gave it a massive push for the spring. And I think the Price and Kent Junior stable and the Maranusa stable are probably the two best stables when they give pushes for their horses that come back. But Louis, you like these 2 or 3 year races as well, and especially down in Melbourne. Any opinion?
Yeah. Look, it's taken on some horses who have proved themselves in a 2-year-old campaign, but gee, I thought Tis Enough was very good winning at the Valley. What did it beat? Don't know. I haven't looked at the overall times or any sectionals, but just off the eye guys would have thought it was pretty good. It was almost 4 lengths. So I'd be interested to see how it's going. It'll be fitter second up. It's clearly improved from its early preparation where it went down to Adelaide and a few other things. It was a pretty smart winner on debut at Sandown. So I think there's talent in there somewhere. At this level, well, you'll only know until you find out and try and have a go. So we'll see. But I thought it's pretty good. Pretty bomb-proof racing pattern, up on speed. You know that it's easier to win from first than last. So we'll see what happens.
Certainly is. Love that, Louis. And look, last race we'll cover the PB Lawrence, which Mr. Brightside, geez, won everything. Everything put in front of it towards the end of the last preparation. It was fantastic to see the Hayes boys dominate there. You've got Buffalo River, Tuvalu, Attrition, Steinem, Uncle Bryn, Forgot You, and Bodagon. Spit it out, son. Kick us off, Dino. What do you got? I've got nothing there.
Yeah, Mr. Brightside, what I would say, jump outs wise, it's the most forward I've ever seen at the jump outs. He's probably not touted as a horse that jumps out extremely like flush sliding setup, but his latest jump out was superb. So he's up nice and early, which tells me probably their target is prep, albeit probably be a Cox Plate, but I think he's going to be peaking and for that King Charles race. I think that might be the grand final and then maybe even a freshen and then set that up. So I think he's forward enough to win there. The big one for mine, if you've got any time, punters, go back and look at Steinem's jump out. He jumped out like he's an Everest hopeful. He's got an elite first up record. If anyone's going to call it a boil over, I'll be on Steinem to beat Mr. Brightside, whatever price we get. Lou?
Yep, like that. I was also going to mention Steinem, who jumped out really well. And I'm a bit of a sucker for the horse. While you were talking, I'm just doing some Googling. There was another horse was in these Cook colours that was a good stayer around Sydney and Melbourne a few years ago.
I know what you're talking. Matty Smith trained it.
I'm pretty sure it ran in a Melbourne Cup or Caulfield Cup or something. Like, it got to a good level, but it was really considered. But I was a sucker for it. I kept betting with my heart. And for some reason, I jumped on when it just didn't start winning anymore. And I just, and Steinem is almost becoming that horse for me, albeit it is a winner, Steinem. It's a good winner, but for some reason, I'm just never on when it is winning. I'm always on when it's not winning. So I've got to be, that's my punting goal for this Spring Carnival, bet with my head, not my heart.
Well, we know you're an emotional character, Lou. You're the number one ticket holder for the Drew Hutchinson fan club. There's only one of you. Anyway, look, up you go. Right, lads, let's wrap it up. Let's go with the best all-in play. I'll kick off with my best all-in play. That is the Silver Shadow Stakes. I'm happy to back Estrella around the $4.50 mark. I think that's a great bet. Dino?
Yeah, mine's in the Barrier Stakes. Cylinder will be the horse that I'll be suggesting is my best all-in play of the week. And Louis?
Well, we chatted it up so much, so I may as well put it in there. I'll take one for the team who loses Zaki in the Winx Stakes.
I like it.
Beautiful. Love it, lads. Right, that was fantastic. Fields aren't quite out finalised. There's no markets up, so we won't get the midweek best bets. But what we might do is we might put them up on the YouTube, on the socials. If you've got a solution to the great game of racing, punting, owning, whatever you do, throw it in. Yeah, a solution, an innovation, perhaps.
I like that.
If you've got ideas about punting education, any ideas, any ways that we can help, reach out. Put your best bets in there. Give Dano a spray. Get it around Louis and the Drew Hutchison Foundation. And and for those who don't know, Drew's, the Broncos. All right, it's been fun, boys. What's on next week, Dino? What's the big race? What's coming up?
Good question. I'm pretty sure we've got the Run to the Rose. We're back to Rose Hill. Run to the Rose, Santa Minico in Sydney. And I'm guessing it's the Memsies. Louis, you would know down there in Melbourne. First Group 1 of the season down there. And I think Alligator Blood's first up. So lots to touch on.
It'll be a great show.
Very keen. Alligator Blood. Looks like the horse is back. Right, lads. You want to catch some Lewis Willoughby? Head to STC Sky Thoroughbred Central. Going to get more of Dean Watling stuff. DeanWatling.com. Righto, boys. Hooroo.
Catch up.